Now, let's introduce the woman at the helm of this organization and the organization that it benefits, Project SAFE's, the executive director, Joan Pretty. With much credit to Joan, in her nearly 20 years of leadership, Project SAFE has grown from a small crisis response organization to one that provides comprehensive and innovative services at the forefront of the movement to end domestic violence. Joan?
Woo-woo! You know, when most people think about domestic violence, if they think about it at all, they imagine something that occurs behind closed doors, in private spaces, and that's true. But it's also true that some of the most tragic and widely publicized mass shootings are either committed by somebody with a history of domestic abuse or have at their center the murder of a current or former intimate partner. 10 years ago, this month, Athens was shaken by that very sort of shooting at the annual picnic of the Town and Gown Community Theater. There was a little girl there that day, and she's grown up now, and she wanted to be here today but couldn't, so we have her on video.
All right, I'm Cameron Tanner. I'm a senior at Cedar Shoals High School. April 25th will mark the 10-year anniversary of the tragedy at Town and Gown, which took the lives of my father, Tom Tanner, Marie Bruce, and Ben Teague. I was saved by two friends that were there at the time. We had recently adopted a puppy that I had with me at the time, and she was with me the entire time. At some point, we were sitting on the stage, waiting for help to arrive. I don't remember much, but I did see the dying. I mean, when things like that initially happen, you don't really process it, so I didn't really feel anything. Now I am a member of different organizations like March for Our Lives, and I have a local club at Cedar Shoals that's the National Association of Students Against Gun Violence, and I'm trying to help make a difference so future events like this won't happen. I went to March for Our Lives in DC, and it was really uplifting to see so many other people that were on my side. And because when you looked around, there was just a sea of people, and the chanting you could hear go on for miles. There are bills that people like student activists and gun violence activists are trying to pass where domestic abusers can't have access to firearms, and I think that's necessary to prevent more people from dying.
If you were here in Athens 10 years ago, you remember where you were on that day. I sure do. But more than that day, I remember that year, 2009, our deadliest. We had 10 domestic violence homicides. A grandmother, a teenager, and on and on. People who weren't as well known in the community as Marie, but people who were every bit as loved and mourned by their family and friends. 2009 was a turning point for Project SAFE. The steady, measured growth that we had experienced in the decade prior gave way to an absolute explosion in the decade since. It was like somebody took a match and set our mission on fire, and that fire spread in all directions. I mean, we started a statewide dating violence text line. We expanded our crisis hotline, added a rollover line. We more than doubled the size of our emergency shelter. We did more pet fostering and pet shelter. We added outreach advocates at the Family Protection Center. We added a walk-in clinic for people without appointments, and then we added another one for more people without appointments. We added support groups. We added more legal advocacy. We added bilingual advocacy. We added transportation and more housing services and longer-term housing services and more and more. We added and improved every aspect of crisis intervention and ongoing supportive services, not just for survivors, but for their kids too. So the kids whose lives have forever been changed by domestic violence don't grow up to be victims or perpetrators, but activists and advocates. We set fire to our prevention and education and systems work too, doing trainings and presentations, not just here in Athens, getting in the car, going all around the state talking about dating violence, creating online programs and speaking at state and national conferences on complex issues, helping people understand strangulation, stalking, the connection between animal cruelty and domestic violence, the connection between firearms and domestic violence, and collaborating and connecting with more and more people so that we can create the community that we can see, one where someday domestic violence is something that used to happen. The accelerant on that fire these last 10 years has been you. It's been the support of this community, largely through this event, largely on this night. So we're moving into our first voting break, and I am asking you to give. Give in honor of your favorite team. They have all worked so hard for this show tonight. But I want you to give knowing that over 90 cents of every dollar contributed goes to services. I want you to give knowing that those services are life-changing and sometimes life-saving. And I want you to give remembering that when people are safe in their homes and safe in their relationships, we are all safer wherever we go. We'll see you in 15 minutes.